All right. Hello, hello. That was awkward because the stream video just stopped for a second without any, notification. But we're here. Let's just roll. How about that? Kevin, how are you, my friend?
I'm well. How are you, Sam?
I am very good, very good. All right, so good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everyone tuning in, watching us live. We'll also put this out as a recording, but thank you for being here wherever you're joining us from. Do tell us if you're in the chat as to where you're coming in from, where you're watching. But this is the Pragmatic AI in .NET show. It's a brand new show that we are going to put together. I think AI is dramatically changing how we build software. So a lot of what we see and hear is a lot of hype and a lot of buzzwords being thrown around. We want to get to the real meat of it. Like, how do you actually build software? What are the things that work? What are the things that could use, some more love and care? So yeah, let's roll here. Look at the chat here. Yeah, good
Hey,
morning.
Andre.
Yeah, good
Andre's
morning.
a member of my team.
Oh,
Oh,
wonderful.
um, I'm
California. Wow, that is early morning. Well, I'm in 8 a.m. Pacific time. So Kevin and me are both East Coast in the Americas. So, brand new show. We're going to talk about all things AI every other Thursday, right here, this time live. And I get to have the honor of bringing on Kevin as the inaugural guest. So, Kevin, thank you for joining me.
it's my pleasure.
All right. So, yeah, why don't you introduce yourself really quick?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Kevin Griffin, and I'm a 16-time Microsoft MVP. My primary focus in life and career has been the .NET platform and Microsoft Azure. Been working with Azure since it was Windows Azure in the early 2009s. So I work primarily as a consultant. I'm right now uh, for lack of a better term, the CTO for a company called Shows on Sale, helping them with their technology strategy, working with a great team, some who are probably watching this right now. And yeah, I've gone through a lot of shifts in my career, and AI is kind of the new shift, right? And I've been pretty much all in on AI first development, and I think that's the way that our industry is going, and I want to make sure I'm not left behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. And I'm Sam Basu, folks. I'm your host, developer relations, dev advocacy lead over at Uno Platform. And I have known Kevin for, boy, long
Long
time.
time.
Not only is Kevin awesome at what he does as a software, craftsman, he's also big in the community. You, have helped out tremendously with the .NET Foundation. I see Hampton Roads Dev Fest, a lot of community things that you do around the year.
Yeah, I'm the president of the .NET Foundation. I roll off in June, and we're about to do elections. So if you'd like to take my place on the board of directors, keep an eye on the .NET Foundation because elections are opening soon. I help with a bunch of conferences. Yeah, Hampton Roads Dev Fest we just did a couple weeks ago. I'm on the steering committee for Stir Trek in Columbus, Ohio. That's coming up in May. And yeah, I'm all around community guy. I owe all my career success to what I've done in the community, and I encourage everyone to get involved.
Yeah, well said. As do I. And it's our network, it's our family that we fall
Yep.
back on to learn from each other, and help each other out. All right. So this being the first show, we're going to kind of set the stage with all things AI. I'm going to ask Kevin as to how he does things today, but then towards maybe halfway down, I can actually share my screen and talk through some
Yeah.
more things that excite me, and Kevin, you can weigh in. But to your point, like, do you feel like AI is a tectonic shift in the way we build software?
Absolutely. It's a tool. And I think the folks who are going to get left behind are the ones who don't grasp the new tool. It's the ones who think the tool are going to replace them are actually probably going to be the ones who get.
Yeah. There are mixed sentiments all around it. So
Yeah.
I get for folks who are hesitant with AI, I get some of the ethical concerns. I get some of the safety or regulatory concerns. I get all of that, and it's actually rough. Like so, I write code, which
Yep.
you can argue like it's science and art a little bit, but other than that, I'm pretty non-creative. But my family, my kid is super creative, and I feel bad because if you are looking at things as an artist or anything creative, like AI can do so much. And
Yep.
the ethical concerns are also real because these large language models that are grokking the internet and finding things, they're not probably going off things that are truly openly available and meant to be used the way they are, but
Yep.
that's the reality, right? So artwork, music, videos, it's hard to identify what's AI created these days.
It really is. I would say specifically for software development, we need to divide the the software development community kind of into two groups. You have the craftsmen, and those are the ones who spend countless hours on each individual line of code and making sure everything's crafted in a way that works, and they're writing the unit tests and the integration tests, and they're doing it all by hand. And then you have the software builders who I would put myself in that category of I I need to ship stuff, because you could take hours and hours and hours crafting perfect software, and I appreciate that. But I need to get stuff out the door. There's no business value to spending hours and hours and hours over every line of code when a tool could generate the code in a fraction of the time, and all I have to do is review and bring my expertise, my architecture expertise, to making sure it did what the business needs it to do. Um, and I think we're going to see that divide kind of like really divide people, into one category or the other. And I think most people adopting AI first uh, really fall into that category of builders. We just need to get stuff done, and it's also opening the opportunity for us to do all these new projects that we have always thought about doing, but never did because we are experienced enough to go, oh, that would take me months to do, and now I can knock it out in a couple hours, and it's 80% where I would want it to be, but it took 3 hours instead of 3 months.
Yeah. It's not even fair. Like with the right instructions and guidance, like AI on its own can churn out more code in an hour that I can write in a month. Like it's just
Exactly.
not even a fair game. But I read a wonderful article the other day, and I'm going to use this term. Like code is cheap,
Yep.
but software continues to be expensive because you need that architectural mindset to review and put things together. AI cannot go and talk to your customers. AI cannot put different systems together. It can generate a lot of code, but you are the one who puts it kind of together. So you do a lot of work for your own consulting. Are you actually shipping real software that's
Yep.
built and reviewed with AI?
Yeah. Primary company I work with, Shows on Sale. I've been working with them for over 10 years, and we ship stuff daily. And it's a combination of pushing new features, fixing bugs, and just general tech debt. I think one of the things that AI has really helped us with, and this is a team of folks, it, we've we've been progressively eliminating more tech debt. If you go through our Jira, it's like, all right, one day I like to fix this issue, and one day I like to fix that issue, and we should clean this up. We should rename these projects, and it's on the backlog because honestly, I don't want to spend the time doing it. But now I can go into Claude and I can say, Claude, I need you to do this, and Claude goes, no problem, man. Give me a second. Goes and does all the stuff, creates the PR, and we're like, oh, check off the
Mm-hmm.
list. That's been really empowering. I think it's helped morale a lot of the team because we just literally came off a big migration project from. I'm not going to go into details, but it's a big migration project that we had been working on for the better part of a year, and it was just taking time because we were doing it by hand, and then really at the tail end of that migration, AI was starting to become a thing as part of our workflow. And it was like, wow, we can get this morale boost almost daily or every other day, and we're just shipping bigger features and more quickly, and that's great for everyone. And the business loves it too. It's like, oh, you're getting so much stuff done.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned quite a few things that I want
Yeah,
to
yeah,
dig into. First up, you mentioned a team. So I want to know about how it's not just about one person just churning out code. Now you have to work in a team setting. And you mentioned Claude. So there are lots of these agentic things to help us out. GitHub Copilot,
yeah.
Claude, Cursor. They're all, they have their strengths, and they all bring similar things and tools and integration things. Are you kind of all in? Like, what's your tool chain of choice these days?
I am a Claude Pro Max
Oh
$200
boy.
a month guy.
Oh boy.
And that was from advice I had gotten 6-9 months ago. I was at lunch with someone who was all in AI than I was at the time. He said, just do yourself a favor and pay for 200. And I went, are you sure? He said, you know what? If you don't like it after a month, I'll pay for it for you. And I haven't gone back. Just the context windows, the prioritization on the servers. Yeah, it's been great. I've never hit the limit of max. And at any one time, I might have 7-8 instances of Claude going.
Wow.
And working on different individual things. So that's my core. I have Cursor still, and I still pay for Cursor. I don't use Cursor anymore. It's more of a just glorified text editor, in my opinion. They keep adding features to it, but I haven't had the time to really go take a look at it, to see what they've changed. I do have OpenAI. I use Codex. I use Codex for review. So we can talk about this a little bit later, but Claude is my main orchestrator. And then I use Codex for review. I generally don't go to Copilot. This might be a whole different discussion. I think Copilot just dropped the ball a long time ago, and they're never going to catch up. Hot take. Yeah. And so if I use Copilot, it's usually as part of a review stack. It's like, all right, Copilot or Claude did all the work or all the planning. Is use Codex for reviews, Copilot for review. 9 times out of 10, whatever Copilot says, the others go, we don't know what Copilot's talking about. It should shut up. And like, not in those exact words, but AIs can be mean sometimes.
Right.
And that's a general review. I've been starting to dabble a little bit with OpenCode, but OpenCode's had some serious issues on Windows, so I've kind of put it on the shelf, and I need to pick it back up again. But that's my general workflow, is doing a fair bit of planning with various agent skills, MCP servers in Claude, and then using Codex for review. And then I let the two AIs argue things out, and then they come up with a plan. We go execute the plan. That converts into a PR always. And then I use the PR for human review. And when humans, usually me. So I'll go through PRs like I'm reviewing anyone's stuff on the team. And as I make comments back to Claude will go iterate, or I'll discuss something with Claude. And so it is like the first 3 hours is just building the plan. Then there's 20 minutes of execution, and then 3 hours of review to get something to the point where I'm comfortable with it going into our development environment, and then doing another round of review, and then it goes into production. So we're not skipping steps. We're still doing everything we would do to make sure what we're pushing into production is good quality software that solves the problem and doesn't introduce any bugs. One of the things it's done is it's reduced our regressions, because the AI is able to look at more stuff than I am. It remembers more details than I do. And the number of times it goes, hey, what about this thing over here you completely forgot about? You're right. You should totally go, factor that into the bigger decision. So that's kind of the workflow.
Yeah, but I like what you just said. Like, it's always human in the flow. Because we keep hearing this, like if you resist what AI is doing, like you are eventually going to fall behind. Like this
Yeah.
is tech, this is what is going to move forward. And it kind of reminds me of like the industrial revolution days where people were hesitant at first. Yeah, you have to evolve your skills, but you cannot keep resisting this. This is so much faster and more productive, but you are ultimately the one responsible for what you're shipping.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then we keep hearing horror stories of Amazon or other big tech sometimes letting things slip, and then bad things happen if humans aren't completely reviewing and in charge of the code that's shipping.
It like we I'm going through a process right now where I'm reviewing the performance of some of our production SQL servers. And that's, if I wasn't security conscious, I would probably say, "Hey, Claude, here's the connection string. Go knock yourself out."
Hmm.
But what I do instead is I say, "Claude, this is what I want to do. Why don't you build the scripts for me to get the data you would need to make suggestions?" And that works really well because it can generate a script. I can go execute the script and then point Claude to the results. And that's helped us out a lot. But we found some really weird edge case performance implications, and like one of them fixed with a like 2 or 3 character in a SQL statement. It's like boom, like dropped our CPU utilization by 60%. And Claude likes to make up numbers. It's like this will knock 80% off your CPU, and you don't believe it because usually it's full of crap. But this was a case where we were hovering around 80% and knocked it down to like 20%. And if I didn't have the graph, I would have never believed it.
Yeah. So let's go back to something you had said before, migration, and this is big on minds for lots of enterprises. Like we have investments that go a little stale over time, and we think about modernization. Are you having good experiences doing modernization projects with AI?
Say that again. Doing migration projects with AI.
Yeah, just
Yep.
modernizing code bases, migration, big migrations.
I like. So I'm doing a little bit of organizing now in um, one of our projects, and it's what's really nice is it has the big picture, so it knows what the entire project looks like. We give it context for everything that's involved, and then I like to ask it a series of leading questions. Like I already know the answers to the questions, but I ask it like, well, we're trying to solve XYZ, we're doing this and this. And I again spend so much time on the prompting and the planning that when Claude comes back with an answer, it's usually what I already thought the answer would be. And that's usually the goal is I need us to agree before it goes and does any work. On organization, like organizing any project is really cumbersome. It's like, all right, I'm renaming files. Do I need to go? I need to go check all the usages of that file. Now we have developer tools that do a lot of that for us already before AI even factors in. But then there's stuff you miss that might have been outside of the project. Um, it's been really good there. We had finished our migration project, so we were migrating a Vue 2 app to Vue 3, and we were changing a lot of our backend services. We were changing a lot of our UI at the same time, and we didn't have AI until the tail end of that when we were just doing quality checks. But since we've launched that migration and we're finding all the cases that we missed, you know how it is. You push something in production and your customers start using it. They find all the edges that you never noticed in testing. And we can quickly iterate and fix those much faster than I think a human would have.
Yeah, makes sense. Give me a little bit more on the details of like how you folks work, like in a
Yeah.
team. What type of code base and what's your process? Like, I'm sure every team has standards on coding guidelines, how you
Yeah.
name things. So how do you bring context? So give me more details about like your everyday workflow with the team.
So we're the general guideline with the project is follow the coding standard pre-established in the project. And one of the things that the agents are really good about is figuring out what those guidelines are. And it's even better about noticing like 90% of the app follows this standard, but then you have this weird file over here that doesn't. Would you like me to fix that file? Yes, I'd love you to do that. So the way the team works is I don't necessarily tell the team they have to use AI. Like AI is a tool that's available, and I encourage people using it. I talk about my own usage all the time, and I'll have side conversation with a member of the team, and we're always trying to find out the best way to steer the AI in the direction we want it to go. So usually, what agents are we running? What's the prompt for those agents? What skills do we have available? Fun MCP servers that we might find along the way. I have a bunch of them, and we share those amongst the team, but no one's really required to use it. And that's ultimately going back to what we were saying earlier. I'm still responsible for what I push up to Git or GitHub. If I want to write that by hand, you know what? That's fine. But a lot of us are choosing to do AI first or use AI as a part of the process. I don't think every member of my team is doing the Claude first and then doing a review cycle and pushing up code. Some might be trying to do the work by hand and then using AI as a recommendation engine. It's like, oh, I think your like fancy autocomplete is the way it was a year ago. And I don't think anyone on the team is just not using AI at all. Some folks are using different agents. So I'm a Claude guy. Another member of my team's a Claude guy. One person is using Junie in Writer to use it, and I've actually never used Junie, so I get feedback from her on her experiences using a different AI agent than what I have.
It's nice that we have so much of choice, right?
It is,
and
yeah.
they're all slightly different in their character. And I like the fact that you actually have like Codex review what Claude is putting out.
Oh yeah, because every model has a different way of solving problems, and my friend Aaron Francis has the concept that he calls the counselors, and the counselors are, well, you have all these agents. Why don't you have a prompt that goes off and asks them all the same questions, and then they have to deliberate with each other, and all that can happen while I'm getting a cup of coffee. Mm-hmm. So they can go off and argue and solve world peace while I'm getting coffee. And when I come back, they'll say, the counselors have all agreed that this is what we should do. You go, you know what? That's a good idea. Counselors, go off and do that. And
what a change world.
That works really well.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get to real details of your workflow and how you use things. You've mentioned a few things about bringing context. You have mentioned skills. So again, like people coming in, hot might hear a lot of these terms. I hear MCP servers and MCP clients. I hear skills. I hear sub agents. I hear agent teams and agent squads. Like I'm overwhelmed. What's all this stuff? Like, do I have to use all of it, or which are the pieces that you choose to use?
So I have a agent for every technology that we use in our stack. And sometimes I'll have multiple depending on what I'm doing. So I'll give you an example. Our primary stack is .NET. We're hosted on Microsoft Azure. We're using SQL Server as a primary backend. We have MongoDB as a secondary backend. We also use Redis server for caching and various Redis things. We take advantage of Azure Storage and a couple other things along the way. And I have agents for each of those individual stacks. Mm-hmm. And the thing I commonly will do is if I'm planning something, I will confer with the .NET agent, or I'll have a separate .NET agent and a C# agent. So one is focused on platform, one is focused on syntax, and a lot of coding style is tied into that. Like, well, if a record makes more sense than a class, let's use the record, and all these little details, and we'll tell the agents, I need you to go review a plan, or I need you to review a pull request. And they'll go off and they'll look at everything with a specific prompt, a specific eye. And they have the power to go look up current documentation. Like, because it's .NET, I have an MCP server for Microsoft Learn.
I was going to just ask, like, how do
Yeah.
they look up docs?
So the docs are the MCP server. They can go look up any documentation they need to if they need more context. And so they'll come back and they'll say, well, the C# agent recommends that we do X, Y, and Z, or found an issue here, here, and here. And that's really useful, because the big model can solve a lot of the problems, but having a very specialized mini model, mini skill that knows how to read C# and can offer suggestions based off C# syntax, that's super useful. When we know we're writing SQL Server, writing SQL, we have an agent that goes in and looks at SQL. I also have a specialized agent for Azure SQL, because we deployed Azure, and that's come back a couple times to say, this, your script is good, but there's an issue in Azure SQL because it doesn't support a particular feature. So we need to make an adjustment. And there's like general Azure architecture skills we have, who will look at what we're doing, and we've explained, this is an app service, this is an app service, these are containers, and these are talking to storage. And because it knows all that, it can look at changes we're making and say, well, maybe you're forgetting something. I would make an adjustment in how we deploy this. It's really good about giving us a good external understanding of the code we're trying to write and the code we're trying to deploy.
Yeah, okay, that's well said. And you have clearly put in a lot of thought into how you orchestrate all of this, because when you mentioned, like, you have a C# agent, you have a .NET and a SQL agent, like, how do these agents become experts? Like, MCP is one way. Like, do you give them anything else?
Usually it's MCP. The MCP is the biggest one. That find the AI agents work best with, not even like, MCP is good, but it works better if it can just do web search on its own, which I usually always give it access to do that, or if there are CLI tools. So there's a lot of times with Azure, I'll let it do CLI read commands because that talks directly to our Azure stack. But because it's read only,
it's generally,
it's generally okay. I'm also a huge advocate of, like, I don't like YOLO mode, because that's where bad things happen. But I'll watch the commands. If it's just a simple command, like, I want to search for files, or I want to search in files, always do that. That's not going to hurt anything. But if it says, I want to drop this resource in Azure, no, let's not do that. That's a bad idea.
Do you want to explain for folks who might not know what YOLO is?
YOLO, you only live once. So there's some folks in there in the AI community who would say, I'm just going to let the AI do what the AI wants to do, and it will never ask for permission to run a command or do something, which from a time perspective is really handy, because you could set it, go off, get lunch, come back, it does all its work, but then it's dropped. It's, what was the Amazon thing? Like, it terraformed and dropped everything and rebuilt it because it thought it was better. And subjectively, it might have been better.
It's funny, like, how all of these things come back. Like, we might remember Hollywood movies where eventually, like, AI takes over and robots, kill humans because that's better, clearly, because we can't take care of ourselves. But so one way, in fact, like, internally, that we are doing is, like, YOLO modes are very good because it's hands off. You're giving them full rights to everything, but do it in a safe environment. Like, so dev containers, like, here's an environment where you can do anything you want, and just let me see what you did before I take it up. Okay, so we are about halfway in. You have talked through a lot of things. Let's go into maybe a little bit more detail. I can pull up my screen and show you how I look at things, and maybe you can tell me how you do things, because you do a lot of .NET, and that's still fundamentally what you build. So are you using skills and MCPs, and how are you doing all of that stuff together? So let's see if I can pull up my screen here. Give me a sec. I am going to close down some apps here so I can share screen.
While I do that, I'll talk about a problem I was
Yeah.
solving this morning. We had an issue with our registration process for our application. It was and testing it is straightforward. If I just told you how to test it, step 1, step 2, step 3, so on. It takes time for a human to do. But what I did was I took the fix and I pushed it to a development server, so safe environment, safe and siloed. And I told Claude to use my Playwright MCP server for testing. And I said, go here and I need you to run through these registration steps. Let me know when you're done because I have to go do a manual approval somewhere. And then I'll tell you to continue the rest of the testing. And it did that. Like it was able to pull up the site in Playwright. And it's like, oh, I see the button. I click the button. All right, I have 15 fields I have to fill out. It goes, fills out the fields, presses the button again, and it says, Kevin, I'm done. You can go do your thing. And I go and do my thing, and then it finishes its test. It was really good for us to get a baseline of reproducing the error, and then went off and fixed it, come back, and it said, hey, we have validated that the fix worked. And it wasn't even me doing the work. It was the tool replicating the issue and confirming the fix. So now it's safe for humans to look at before it goes in production.
Yeah, well said. And that is so key because it's one thing to generate a bunch of code, but who's to say it's actually working, right?
Exactly.
Validate what you're generating. And then this is where like MCPs and skills are so good together. So I'm sharing my screen. So tell me what's your chosen stack of things here. Let me actually pull this out. I was just talking about this. Because like when I try to explain this to others, this is a simile that I use. See if it resonates with you. So I like to say that you are the developer and you are the main orchestrator. You have just bought yourself a restaurant and you want to have a menu. You want to serve up food. So you want to get things that makes you successful. So the first thing you hire is a chef, right? Or maybe multiple chefs. If you're Kevin, you have 5 chefs doing their own thing all day long. Now, when you run these things in parallel, are you mostly doing terminal CLI stuff, or are you still in an IDE?
No, it's all terminal.
Okay.
I don't like the integrations with, like the writer integration is good to a point. Then it had a weird rendering bug. I was using inside a cursor, but that just felt redundant. So I keep everything in terminal.
Yeah. And that's also, a bit of a mindset switch maybe, because like when you talk to .NET devs, like we are so used to being inside of Visual Studio. And again, no one's stopping you for looking at code, but when you take away the UI layer of visualizing everything, you realize things can just run so much faster in terminal. And then once you are happy, go look at things in your IDE. But this is a simile that I use, like for your chef, MCP tools are kind of like the raw ingredients without which you cannot make the food. And those need to come from the farmers or people the platforms that know what they're doing. Like you cannot reinvent those things. You don't need to memorize, whole, chef books, right? You have cards that tell you quickly how to do things in a list, and you're kind of guiding the chef down. You might need some help with, sous chefs. That's where the sub agents come in. If you are running things in a loop like Autopilot or Ralph Wiggum, that's where, you might hire some door watchers. But essentially, you're saying, here's my exit criteria, not just, make my app beautiful, because that's subjective. Here's a set of testable criteria for you to, check before you come out of the loop and say, I'm done. So keep running it without human intervention until you meet those, criteria. So does this resonate to you?
I think it does. I think there's a lot of cases with MCP tools that people don't realize. Like I have an MCP server that talks to our Jira instance, our Jira and our Confluence instance. So I'll literally start some prompting with, go look up issue 1532 and create a plan to fix it. And if that's the entire prompt to start the plan, it goes to Jira, which is a pain in the butt to navigate as a human. And it comes back and goes, oh, I'm going to build this entire plane because it's all the context. Um, so yeah, MCP servers for everything that don't have easily accessible CLIs or APIs.
Yeah, that's
It's
key. So
also
yeah,
a bit safer as well. Like you can do damage with MCP server, but it's controlled damage because you usually have to be authenticated, depending on what you're using.
yeah. So for folks who might not know, this, one thing that, all companies, big tech who make AI agents, they're doing very interesting things. But I find like Anthropic tries to focus in on standards. So that's where some of these things emerge, like skills or agent, sub agents. This, I believe, if not mistaken, this also started with Anthropic, the whole, MCP standard. And then like everyone's in it, everyone's trying to fight and make sure the standard works for everyone. But this is essentially a common language for AI agents and disparate systems to talk to each other, right?
Yeah.
And this is great because you can bring that expertise to your point, Kevin, like things that don't have hooks very easily, bring it to the AI agents so they're not driving blind.
And if you can expand on this more, like we have a private MCP server that we use for our database, which is really useful for lookup user data for user XYZ. And what I've always wanted to do was tie that into our Slack, where our customer service folks can use Slack for or do Slack ops, like so they can quickly look someone up. And not to say that you couldn't do that earlier, but they can write a human request. It doesn't have to be formatted a certain way. They could just ask a question. Something reading the chat could pick it up, pass it through Claude or whatever that executes an MCP tool command that knows how to go get the data and brings it back in a formatted way. So we don't have to train our customer service people how to write the perfect command to get the data that they want. They just ask a question. And I would love to do that one day. And actually, it's so easy now. I could probably knock it out in the afternoon.
Yeah. Code is easy to produce. So what I like about this is it doesn't tie you in. So they have lots of SDKs, right? So choose whichever is your stack to go build things in Go or Java or Swift.
Yep.
For a lot of us, it's C#, .NET devs. Oh, by the way, the C# MCP SDK that hit 1.0. I think a couple of maybe last week or so. So that thing is solid now. And
I have to go update ours then.
Yeah. I think most of us, majority of us are not building another IDE. So, clients are great, but, we kind of already have it in Claude or in VS Code. Like the clients are already kind of embedded in whichever thing you're using. But servers are the way we can, bring all of these tools and specialized resources to AI. So you mentioned Playwright, which I'm a big fan of. Have you looked at Uno platform at all?
No.
Off late? Okay, so let me show you a little bit, maybe, because then this is interesting, and you can also share thoughts on how this relates to what you are doing with Playwright. So this is us, right? So cross-platform.net. You start from a single shared code base. This is all an open source stack. So you start with shared code base of C# and XAML, and then we take you everywhere. So mobile, web. So again, web is actually, sure, you can build full-on SPA apps, but we can take you to web with WebAssembly and have the same UI on desktop, mobile, and web. So that's a stack. But on top of it, we have built up a lot of productivity tooling for developers to be successful. And a big part of that is through MCPs. So let me take you down that list. So we have two. So this one here is what we called just a Uno MCP. So it sits there and it says, hey, I can do documentation search. I can do documentation fetch. So right there is your context. So don't go off and do wild things. Always initialize yourself and know how to do it with our docs. And the second one is, I think we call it like Playwright for .NET native apps, right? This is pretty much what Playwright MCPs do. So this is full-on access to what your app is doing. So the
Yeah.
AI agents can take a screenshot. They have the runtime info. They can look at the visual tree. They can click on things. They can paste things. They can do, default, PR actions. So all of this combined is what lets you validate, what AI is building. So is this kind of similar to Playwright?
Yeah, definitely. That like Playwright, you'll have load page and then click button or scroll. It has all the commands that a person would do inside of the instance of a browser.
Yeah, and this is super, useful. So let me pull up like a sample app here, and we can look at this. And again, this works on terminal. This works on any IDE.
Mm-hmm.
It's really nice. So this one here is a very simple counter app. So all it does is just has a little bit of UI, and it you click on a counter and it increments it. Yeah, that's fine. So this one being cross-platform, so I can run this on all the places. But if I bring up any type of AI, and again, it's Codex,
Mm-hmm.
Claude, Copilot, it's all the same. But what you see here is we are wiring up those MCPs right up front, right? So those are the 4 documentation initialization MCPs, and then I have all of my app interaction MCPs. So with that, what I can do is, if I ask a question like, tell me about, we like using a MVUX pattern, which is kind of MVVM, but done shorter, better.
Mm-hmm.
So with, let's see if I can type platform, right? So when I do this, it's sure, I mean, this is using, Codex 5.3. It probably is fine, but it doesn't need to go and depend on its own, perhaps timestamp knowledge. So it can actually go check the docs. So it finds the doc search, and these are things you can enable once in the whole workspace, and then it won't ask you again. And then it's trying to do a search to figure out, what exactly can I respond with if the user asks me about MVUX. It's finding a few pages. The next thing it does is a fetch. So now it's actually trying to read the pages that it found. So what you get back is, a summarized explanation of what this pattern is. It found actually more pages, so I'm just going to allow it in the workspace hole so it doesn't keep asking me. So
That's why you need YOLO mode.
Exactly.
YOLO,
So
just go grab it all.
just go grab it all. Don't ask me. And you can put these configurations at a project level, or you can go all in at a workspace level, so it never asks. You can still hear me, right, Kevin?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So my screen froze for a second, but you can see like it found out a bunch of things, and this is all coming straight from the docs, which is nice. So if you are going to be in an IDE, you should never have to leave your IDE, because all of those MCPs are right there. So that brings context, that makes it for an expert. And with those other MCPs, I can do more fun things. So let's just say launch the app on desktop, use _app_start. Now I happen to know what that tool is. You don't have to be that explicit. The AI agents will likely pick up and do that exact same thing. So what it's trying to do here is figure out what exactly I'm asking. It has to make sense that this is a .NET code base. It has to do a build, pull down NuGet packages, and it's since I mentioned explicitly, it's going to force yourself to itself to use an MCP. Let me ask you this while it's doing it. It's actually asking me questions here. Can I run it? Yes, go ahead. Do you find AI agents, even if they have access to MCP tools, sometimes bypass them and try to do it themselves?
Yeah, I see that sometimes. And it's usually in between updates. Claude, a good example. I have an MCP server for it was Playwright, where there was one update to Claude Code. I said use Playwright to go test X, Y, and Z, and it goes, "Oh, let me install Playwright." I'm like, "No, use the MCP." It's like, I don't have the MCP. I'm like, "You do have the MCP." Like,
Yes.
and I would
Sometimes
say,
you have to argue.
and it's like, "Well, let me go list tools," and it goes, "Oh, you're right. I do have the MCP. Let
So
me
why not
use the
use it? You
yeah."
have it.
And you have to teach it sometimes stuff it should already know. And I mean that was an edge case, and I haven't had the issue since. But yeah, sometimes it argues with you.
Yeah. So this actually brought up the app, right? It's Hello World,
Hmm.
and it's running on desktop. So it figured out how to do a build, and you can see like behind the scenes, like what it did was actually come down and get the runtime info, and it's offering like, hey, I need to make sense. Like it can actually grok through my code base, but it has no idea about what the app looks like. So it's offering to take a screenshot, so it can figure out what the app looks like. And actually, on the app itself, like you might notice, we have these two things in here.
Hmm.
This one's a hot reload, which is like really hot. So when that goes green, it means like, we actually offer a design surface. So I can click on this one. That's a hot design. Now my app is still running, but we kind of take you into a design mode. And here you actually have an agent where you can say, build me this, and it's going to, spin up and rewire up some UI. We can interact with it. So I can, click on this button. So the counter goes up. I can interact with and pinch and zoom and do all the things. But the good thing here is a design mode. So my app is still running and I have a design surface, right? So it's not fake data. I have all of my UI, so I can drag and drop things. And then once I'm in design mode, I can also, select things, and then all of my properties for my chosen UI come up. I can, drill down into exactly which button that I want to click on, and really do design, for that page and that particular piece of UI. So where that helps is at any point, like I can go, hit the fire icon and I'm back into my, running app. But anything that I do in the design surface, that hot reload makes it, sync it back to my IDE. So that's a nice thing. But already you can see like it's using MCPs. So I can say, click on the, if I can type, counter button, right?
Hmm.
So at this point, like it's at 2, so it has to figure out what exactly did I mean by the counter button. So it's taking a visual snapshot of what the UI looks like. So exactly, kind of, is this similar to Playwright?
It's exactly like
Yeah,
Playwright.
yeah.
It's got to go look to see what it's looking at, which I think Playwright's probably easier because you can look at markup,
Hmm.
and not have to take snapshots. But sometimes it'll take a snapshot so it can get a better picture of what it's looking at. Um,
Oh, this visual. So we have two. There is a screenshot tool, and then there's
mhm.
a visual snapshot. This is essentially markup.
Oh,
So
okay,
it
cool,
is looking through markup. Yeah. So to figure out like what I meant by the counter button. So
gotcha.
let's actually go check. Yeah. So it went from 2 to 3, and it's coming back to say, hey, I did this for you.
Yeah,
So
and I think that the important thing here is you're talking to it like you would talk to another engineer,
exactly.
and it's inferring your request to an action from a set of actions it knows about. And that's, I think, the real power of the MCP server is being able to take the request in human words, right? And turn it into a request that the machine understands and the machine can go execute.
Yeah.
Because I think if you didn't have the MCP server, like how do you get the AI to manipulate
Validate.
a
Right.
desktop application?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I don't actually think I know off the top of my head. I have to go research it. And um, yeah, it's hard. So that's
So
why we have MCP servers.
the MCPs are awesome because it brings so much context about the thing that you're building on. Like it's like the raw ingredients. Without it, you'll have to, rediscover what chicken or beef is, which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And this is a super simple example, but this is where I can go, turn off my ID, and I can go to Claude or Codex or Cursor, and I can say, build me an app which has this UI, and here is the success criteria. I want my UI to do this, this, and this. Don't come out of it until you validate all of it with the MCP.
Yeah.
So the MCP tools give me that, interaction bits, so I can, be hands off, and AI can validate its own work. Yeah. So you folks use a lot of Playwright for web stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like,
Yep.
yeah. Now, what about some of the other things? So let me close this down and take you to a different project. Again, it's like things I use to explain, and you tell me which ones of these you use. So this is a very simple console app,
Mm-hmm.
right? So all it's doing here is, I have a class of athletes, and it's printing a set of athletes, and that's it.
Yep.
But I have a few things in here. So in here, and these are things to kind of keep in mind as we are using AI. So let's actually bring this up. So this lives in the .NET AI folder here, and you don't see anything because this looks just like any other .NET project. I got my CS proj and my solution files. But if I look at the hidden files, that's where some of the magic is, right?
Yep.
Because AI agents are constantly reading these files. So I can, everyone does similar things. So I can have a .vs for Visual Studio. I can have a .vs code. If I'm using GitHub Copilot, I can have a .github. And in there are the things that I use to kind of guide AI my way, and then like this is Claude's way. So these are sub agents and things I have. So what I'm doing here is in the skills folder. Well, first up, do you use instruction files for AI?
Yep. Yeah. So I think that's important for any project you're working on. So Claude has the Claude Markdown file, which if I'm going into a project and it doesn't have that to begin with, I always create that first. And just because that is the context that is going to be sent with every initial request.
Yeah.
And like Copilot's the same way. Here's what you need to know about this project, so you don't need to go look it up later. I've had cases where I've gone in the projects and not created that file, and it spends the first 10 minutes just looking through all the directories and all the file structure just to see what's available. And so we'll always create that file. And I think what a lot of people might miss is you should keep that file updated. So if you are working on a task and Claude makes a realization about part of your project, I will always say, make a memory of that. And
how do you make a memory?
You just ask it, make a memory. Like you should, or I think you can even say like, you should remember that. And what it will do is go through and update its internal memory to say, we should remember that we did X, Y, and Z, and so we can apply this in the future. Keep those files up to date. And now there's hey, Raf. Raf used to be on my team. So great guy. And so yeah, keep your instructions up to date, because that's going to be the initial part of any prompting you do. And you don't want to remember to use camel case for variables, functions, and methods. Even though that might be implied, but here, it's just easier to put it in the memory, and it's used every time.
Do you, in your setup where you said you have experts who do .NET and SQL and Azure, do you have one set of instructions that are common to any code projects you do, and then you have sub instructions for specific things?
Yeah. So in context, you have your global instructions, agent skills, commands, you name it, and then you have your per project ones. Some I kind of go back and forth. I work on a lot of different projects, so it doesn't make a ton of sense to put them in each individual project. But it does make sense if you're looking at it from a team aspect, where I want the team to have access to the various skills and agents that we're creating for the project. There's no good way to really manage that at a larger scale. There's things out there that say, well, do NPX skills, and you can download all these skills from random NPM repo.
So you're almost looking almost like a plugin type marketplace or ecosystem where you can download all these skills on the fly.
Yep. And then managing those across your team, making sure everyone's using the same skills, but then being able to easily update them. And that's kind of where we haven't solved that problem. And I've done a bit of researching, and it seems like no one solved that problem, or people have solved it, but not in good ways or
that can be standardized
safe ways.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you use instructions for everything. Then, GitHub Copilot likes to put things in a skills directory, which I think Claude likes to as well. Like, this is my, one hello world skill.
No consistency. Yeah.
And then, do you use sub agents?
A little bit. Not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going back to what Claude likes, here are some things that I do like about subagents, and maybe like the everyday grind might
Yeah.
get too much of maintenance, but the cost saving is nice because then you can use like cheaper models like Haiku, not
Yeah.
the cutting edge like Opus stuff, which might be your main, and it actually you save some context window bandwidth, so you're kind of handing things off. So it runs completely on its own. You can constrain what you give it, and actually, Claude
Or
uses a bunch of them built in, and then
you
you
pay
get
for
to
the $200 Pro Max Claude plan, and then you can opus everything.
yeah, yeah. You're on a different level, my friend. But here is Cloud Code, and it can actually create a lot of these sub agents on its own. It's got a nice UI. So let's open this up. I don't know whichever text editor. So this is a sub agent that
Hmm.
it spun up to do my code reviews, or your UI testing or unit
Yep.
testing, and these are all the responsibilities. Now keep in mind, like, this is where Kevin was talking about, like, those tools are important. So this
Yep.
is meant to be maybe read only if it's just analyzing my code base. So you can shut it down to say you can just do grok and grep and that's it, and no more. But this is your opportunity to write down your team coding expectations, right, per se. So, look at all of this stuff. Here's your review methodology. Here's your evaluation criteria. Here's what I want out of it.
Yep.
Give me summary, give me critical issues. So, in a way, it's nice if you can have these sub things spin off on its own with dedicated workloads, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, but in your everyday, you don't use too many sub agents.
So we do. So all my my C# agent, my .NET agent, my SQL Server agent, so on, so on. Those are all sub agents.
Hmm.
The big thing that normal people need to be careful of is just running too much of them at one time, because they'll easily go off and use all your token limits. Now, if you're on Pro
Yeah.
Max, it's not a problem.
Right.
So, and also there's I've run an issue where I had one skill, one agent that would execute all the other agents,
Hmm.
and it would do it based off of technology changes. That was the only time I ever broke Claude, because it tried to go off and spawn like 15 agents at the same time,
Yeah.
and it was like it got to the point where it needed to compact the conversation, but it couldn't, because the conversation was just too big to compact.
Yeah.
And yeah, I broke Claude. So
Yeah. Yeah, and these are things, perhaps, they are optional things for you to use, leverage what works. And then, like, I was reading up, and this is at a point where just the overhead of it might make you hesitate a little bit.
yeah,
So sub agents kind of run off and do their own thing in isolation, right? And they
yep,
only come back to the main agent, like that's the team lead. They are doing their thing, they're coming back and reporting, here's what we did or we found.
yep,
Agent teams is a whole other ball game, because this is kind of what you're talking about. Like, you have dedicated team leads or
yep.
agents that do specific things for C# and .NET and SQL, and then they can talk to each other. Do you allow that?
I haven't gotten this far yet.
Yeah.
So I'm solving so many problems, like just the way I have things, that I haven't
Yeah.
really thought about playing with this. But I'm sitting here thinking of the use case, like, ooh, I could try this.
Yeah.
I have ideas, but
To your point, like, all of this, while it's awesome, you have to kind of keep in mind that all of this costs you tokens, right? This is,
that's why I have to use
even
tokens.
well, you're on the max plan, but the other day, like, I'm doing stuff, and Claude was like, hey, it sounds like you are trying to write a whole new backend for Uno platform. Like, give me a day and I can write it for you. I'm like, yes, you can, but
Yep.
do you know how much it's going to cost me? So that's where it comes down to something like, how much of this do you want to keep pushing? But if
Yeah.
you are a single dev and you are being super productive with all the code that's been churned out, now do you have a process of how you write, how you do code reviews in the team, or how you do testing or debugging?
We're fast and loose with some of that stuff. So we always go through a dev environment before it ever goes in production. validating the fix. We always make sure another member or two of the team looks at stuff before it goes to production. Um, the we have test suites for you know some of the projects. We're like most development shops. We don't have nearly as much test coverage as we would like to have. But actually, AI has helped make a lot of that
Yeah.
better because we can look at a feature and go, oh, I don't have good enough test coverage for this. Hey, AI, tell me how to improve test coverage. And and it's really good about doing that. So we have a lot of dependencies we built internally that have technically full test coverage. Um, and we try to make it part of the prompt is as we, or at least I do this, when we fix issues and we add new parts, new features to different dependencies, we ask it, go update your test coverage. And it'll do that. So yeah, we're learning every day something new. And we really try to share what we learn across the team. So like no one's working in their silo, just being super productive. We're all just trying to share. And also I have a private group of people I share information with. They share information with me. So I try to stay I'm not bleeding edge. Like I'm not running a Claude bot, OpenClaw, whatever it's called now. Like I'm not doing that. That's crazy. But I am like trying to push AI as far as I can do just in my normal day to day.
Yeah, yeah, well said. And look at that, like time flies when we are having fun. But
Yeah.
that's so key. Like we are all learning this every day and sharing knowledge and ways of working, not just with our team, but
Yeah.
with AI, so it doesn't make the same mistakes. And everyone, I think, is trying to make AI work their way. This isn't something that we can resist. Like if the value that we are bringing is the amount of code we can churn out, we're
Yeah.
already, the well's drying up already.
The real skill set is architecture, engineering, best practices. Like we have the benefit of we've done this long enough. We
That's
know what to
key.
look for.
Yeah,
I'm really worried about juniors.
yeah, I am
Um,
too. Because like this is something we have been doing for long enough, so we know what to look for. But
exactly.
when you're just reviewing a whole lot of code and you haven't written a lot of
Yeah.
code, it's hard. So yeah, let's see what the industry holds and how we all evolve. So last question here, Kevin. Like things are evolving so fast, but in, let's say, 6 months, like how do you see your AI usage changing, if any?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. It's if you look at what the teams are doing with the tools, it seems like they've kind of hit a wall with what the models are capable of at the moment, and they're working on the nice, like the nice features, like Claude introduced voice mode, so you can just talk to it. They've introduced they a lot of them have remote mode, so I can start my prompt on my desktop, but I can walk away and
Right on with your
it'll
phone.
I can go on the
Yeah,
phone, go, oh yes, I want to approve this, improve that. Um, that's super handy. I think the the next iterations probably are getting just having larger context windows because context is everything. More improvements on how to compress the prompts, and because you don't have just your prompt, you also have your instructions and you have your agents. Um, I think the teams, so specialized agents that can all go off and do different things and then come back, like that might be the next big iteration of I I can have my team go off and do things and then come back, and they've all worked on individual parts. Um, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to be the fortune teller because I don't think if you asked me 6 months ago what would
yeah.
AI look like today,
Look
I
at
don't
how
think
far
I
we have
would have
come.
described
Hmm.
this. Um, if a year ago, man, like we didn't have all these terminal apps. Like
Yeah,
I was still a little bit more than a year ago. Like I was typing stuff in the chat GPT, copying the code out and pasting it into
yeah,
my editor.
yeah,
And I haven't done that in such a long time. It has changed so radically, so quickly.
yeah, yeah. All right. Yeah. Those are wise words. So let's all keep our eyes and ears open, keep learning. Things are
Yes,
evolving
sir.
fast, and make AI work to your needs, however it is that you prefer working with AI. But Kevin, I know you're super busy. Thank you so much for making time to come and hang out with me.
Hey,
This was super fun because, like, I look at you as somebody who's running a team and shipping real software. A lot of us who are experimenting, we are doing, a lot of demos, but we're not shipping things directly to our clients. And you are an example who is coordinating things with your team and shipping real stuff. So kudos to you.
yep. Well, thank you for having me, Sam. I really appreciate the invite.
Absolutely, and thanks for folks who are watching live and been with us in the chat room. Appreciate your time. Again, this is the Pragmatic AI with .NET show. We'll keep churning out. We will. Oh yeah, my teammates are here. Hey, Steve. So we'll keep doing more and more things. We love .NET. We love AI. So let's put it together and see how we can evolve how we work. So thanks a lot for joining us. Thank you again, Kevin, and we'll see you on the next episode of Pragmatic AI with .NET. All right,
Thanks, everybody.
folks.
Bye.
Thank you, and bye.